So we are 5 weeks into the 2025 NFL season. I made a video a week ago talking about every team's most disappointing player so far. Today, we're going to be doing the opposite, and we are going to talk about every team's most surprising player here in 2025 in a good way. So surprising could just be maybe they had just no expectations at all and they're just exceeding those, or maybe they're elevating themselves into a new tier. Maybe they were like a tier 2 quarterback going into the season and they're a tier 1 guy now. We're going to break it down for every single team. There'll be timestamps for each division in the description if you want to hop to your favorite team. All right, so the first team we're doing this with is one of the tougher teams to kind of figure out who their most surprising player is, and that's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Now I'm recording this ahead of their Monday night game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, so maybe somebody emerges as like the clear favorite for this video. I'm going to go with Tyquan Thornton. I thought about giving a shout to No Williams, but it's just a really small sample size, although he's been great when he's been on the field. So yeah, Tyquan Thornton has kind of replaced like MVS as that deep ball threat for Patrick Mahomes this season. He's got just 10 receptions, 182 yards, and 3 touchdowns throughout his first 4 games, but he's been that deep ball guy that Patrick Mahomes loves to have in their system. I just mentioned MVS. That was Tyreek Hill's bread and butter, allowing Patrick Mahomes to really stretch across the field and get their guys 30, 40, 50 yards downfield, and we can actually utilize Patrick Mahomes' generational arm talent. He did have 5 catches, 71 yards in week number 3 against the Giants. He had a 49-yard catch against the Eagles, a 38-yard catch against the LA Chargers. So Chiefs fans, I would actually love to know who you think's been the most surprising player in a good way so far. Do you think it's Tyquan Thornton, or do you think it's somebody else? I think we have to stay on receivers here for the LA Chargers. This one's an easy one in my opinion. It's gotta be Quentin Johnston. I mean, shout out to Quentin Johnston, man. After his rookie season, just having 431 yards and all the drops he had, it was tough for the 21st overall pick in the 2023 draft, but last year he showed more promise. In the beginning of the year, he had 91 targets, he had 55 catches, 711 yards. This year, Quentin Johnston has been off to a fantastic start and has arguably been the best receiver in that Los Angeles Chargers receiving room. He had 5 catches for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns to start off the year in Brazil against the Chiefs. He then had 71 yards and a touchdown in week number 2 against the Raiders. He had 9 targets, 6 catches, and 89 yards against the Broncos in week number 3. Found the end zone. He had 13 targets and that touchdown against the Giants in week number 4, although they did lose by 3. He just had 4 catches for 40 yards in week number 5 against the Commanders, and we've seen this passing attack not be as effective as it was to start off the year, more so given how banged up the offensive line is for the LA Chargers. But we thought Quinn Johnson was an afterthought. We definitely thought maybe Trey Harris could steal his spot at one point this year, given what the rookie had with all his pre-draft hype. And you add Lad McConkey, they bring back Keenan Allen, but no, Quinn Johnson has been the most reliable receiver for the Chargers this year, and I think it's a really cool story given how just probably down he was after his rookie year with all the drops. People want to label him a bust after year number 1, and he's showing that he is maybe worth that first round pick. So kind of a shocking one here for the Las Vegas Raiders. Definitely didn't think he was going to have the season he was having going into year number 9, and that's Jamal Adams. No longer a safety. Jamal Adams, the linebacker for the Las Vegas Raiders, in my opinion, has been their most surprising player this year, just being a rotational linebacker for this team, somebody that was always more of like a blitz heavy safety. They did joke that he was blitz boy during his time in New York. He gets traded for 2 first-round picks from New York to the Seattle Seahawks. It does not work out in Seattle. I thought after that his career could be over. He spent time in Tennessee last year, some time in Detroit, and this year though he's been off to a good start as just a run stopper for the Las Vegas Raiders. He's the 12th graded linebacker according to PFF this year. He's somebody that's just causing defensive stops, pressuring the quarterback, even as a quarterback hit on the season as well. It's not like he's elite linebacker by any means, but hey, he's definitely a rotational guy there in Vegas, more than you can ask for when they signed him in the offseason. And then another easy one for me here in Denver. I'm going to go with J.K. Dobbins. Everybody wants to talk about the rookie running backs, and yeah, RJ Harvey was exciting coming out of UCF, and he has made some plays this year, but J.K. Dobbins has been one of, and maybe a top 5 running back in the NFL through 5 games. Kind of an afterthought there in Los Angeles. He was a good Charger last year, but they drafted him Aaron Hampton. They signed Najee Harris. They were going to go in a different direction, and J.K. has been great for Sean Payton, who kind of notoriously does not really focus in on one specific running back. Yes, he had Alvin Kamara in New Orleans, who never got 1,000 rushing yards. You saw like Mark Ingram and some other guys in there throughout his time in New Orleans. And it does feel like JK has been the bell cow this year for the Denver Broncos. Like last year it was Javonte Williams, it was Estime, it was McLaughlin, and this year it's been a lot of J.K. Dobbins. He's had only over 100 yards once this year, but he is averaging 5.2 yards per carry. He's got 4 touchdowns, 77 carries, 402 yards against some solid front sevens like the Indianapolis Colts and the Philadelphia Eagles, having 79 yards and a touchdown in week number 5. So it's cool to see JK just honestly showing that Still at 26 years old, he could be a premier running back in this league with all the injuries he has had in his career. Really easy one also here for the Seattle Seahawks. They made a massive risk in the offseason, trading away Geno Smith, who was just a reliable quarterback under center for them for the last few years, to invest in Sam Darnold, who's really only had one good year in his career, and that was with the quarterback whisperer in Kevin O'Connell. And it was kind of interesting where they wanted to go in the different direction and not bring back Sam Darnold, to allocate the money elsewhere to kind of sprinkle some talent around JJ McCarthy. So Seattle gives Sam Darnold a 3-year deal, ton of guaranteed money, and Sam Darnold has been one of the best quarterbacks in football this year. I mean, he was in an absolute barn burner between them and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday. That was a great game where he had 4 touchdowns, he threw for over 340 yards, and he completed 28 out of his 34 throws so far on the year. He's got 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's building a great connection with Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's gotten Torrey Horton involved, AJ Barner, Cooper Kupp. And this is still with not a great offensive line whatsoever. It's still a work in progress there in Seattle. It was a tough loss to Tampa over the weekend, a game they definitely could have won. They lost in week number 1 in his debut against San Fran. They rattled off 3 wins against the Saints, Steelers, and Cardinals. But Sam Darnold, when you watch the tape, when you watch the film, has been phenomenal this year. And this is looking like one of the better and maybe the best move from the 2025 offseason in a vacuum. Definitely didn't expect to say his name when I was going to make this video this year. I'm going to talk about Mac Jones for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, the 49ers have just had a season from hell yet again with injuries on offense and on defense. In week number 5, they were going on the road against the LA Rams, a good team with no Brandon Ayuk, no Ricky Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings, and no George Kittle, and obviously no Brock Purdy. And Mac Jones had maybe the greatest game of his career. I think better than maybe any of his Patriots games. He completed 33 out of 49 throws on a bad leg as well. Like, they kind of had to rush him back because Brock Purdy was injured and they had nowhere else to go. He's somebody that could definitely use like the long rest he's going to have after a Thursday game. He threw for 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's 3-0 this year, beating the Saints, beating the Cardinals, and beating the Rams in overtime on Thursday. And honestly, looked pretty close to Matthew Stafford. Stafford's still a better quarterback, obviously, than Mac Jones, but Mac Jones looked the part. It looked like he was a 15th overall pick out there. And it's just so ironic, too, for somebody that Kyle Shanahan really wanted with the 3rd overall pick back in the 2021 NFL draft. But honestly, you trade all those first-round picks to take somebody like Mac Jones. I don't know if that was going to work out well. He probably would have been on the board a little bit later where they were originally selecting. They go Trey Lance, but then they got bailed out with Brock Purdy in 2022. And it's just kind of ironic that Mac Jones kind of is the quarterback that Kyle Shanahan likes to utilize. He's got 6 touchdowns, 1 interception this year. Like I said, 3-0, and this is a damn good backup quarterback to have, which is a luxury in the National Football League. And I really don't want to talk about the Arizona Cardinals right now. They lost me my survivor pick. I thought they were really going to win that game against the Tennessee Titans, man. They got off to a good start against the Saints and the Panthers, 2 bad teams objectively, and then they've lost now 3 games in a row to Seattle, San Francisco with no Brock Purdy, and then most recently to the Tennessee Titans, who we could all say was the worst team in the NFL. Maybe now it's the Jets. So there haven't been a lot of bright spots as of late. For the Arizona Cardinals, I may just go with Will Johnson. I also want to give some love to Calais Campbell, still doing it at age 39 in year number 18, because Campbell has been good this year, but Will Johnson, I think, was just overlooked in the NFL draft. I know it's going to come down on injuries, right? And that's why he slid. He was somebody that was a projected first rounder. He ends up going 47th overall. Throughout the whole college season, it was pretty much, who's your cornerback 1? Is it Will Johnson or is it Jahdae Barron? And Johnson has been a true shutdown corner for the Arizona Cardinals this year. It's just been 3 games. He has been banged up, so hey, that's kind of why he slid in the NFL draft, but he played great against the Saints, going up against Shaheed and Chris Olave, good against Carolina, going up against Ted McMillan, and good against Tennessee as well. He's actually graded out as the #1 corner according to PFF. I mean, Max Melton, Will Johnson, Garrett Williams is a nice trio they have going on there in Arizona. I know Melton hasn't been great so far this year, but I would say the secondary at full strength for the Cardinals has been probably their strong suit in terms of units this year, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe this isn't surprising to you. I'm still putting him here because I want to talk about him. For the LA Rams, it's Puka Nacua, in my opinion. Puka has really turned into one of the best receivers in the NFL this year. You could say maybe he's number 3. Like, you still like Jettas and you like Jamar Chase over him, but he's right in that conversation up there with like CeeDee Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he is setting records right now through a first 5-game sample size this year, at least fantasy records as well. He's got 62 targets throughout 5 games, mind-blowing. He's got 52 catches, leading the NFL, 588 yards, also leading the NFL, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 117 yards per game. Mind-blowing stuff. In week number 4 against the Colts, he had 13 catches on 15 targets for 170 yards and a touchdown. He's also one of the best run-blocking receivers in the league as well. Ever since he got cheated on by his girlfriend, he's actually turned into prime Randy Moss. I mean, I gotta talk about Puka. I wanted to talk about Puka. Maybe you expected this week for somebody who was great as a rookie in 2023, but was banged up a ton. He missed 6 games in 2024. Now he's looking the part here in 2025. I think he's maybe the best receiver Stafford has ever played with. Maybe just not named Calvin Johnson. Like, yeah, Puka right now might be better than what Cooper Kupp was a couple years ago. Man, I really wanted to talk about Woody Marks here for the Houston Texans, but it didn't really go to plan here in week number 5 after all the hype he had. So I'm actually going to talk about an offensive lineman that's actually been playing all right for the Houston Texans this year. Ed Ingram, the former Minnesota Viking, who was the 59th overall pick back in the 2022 draft. He gets picked up by Houston this offseason for a 6th round pick in the 2026 draft. He's actually the #1 graded PFF offensive guard this season out of 78 eligible. He's one of the best run blockers in the league. Can be a little bit better in the pass blocking department, but hey, it does look like the Houston Texans at least found one good offensive lineman this year, because Scruggs has not been great. Jake Andrews has kind of been a disaster for this team. Laken Tomlinson's been somewhat disappointing. Ariante Ursary is still a rookie, and Titus Howard is still probably the best offensive lineman on this roster, but it's nice to see Ed Ingram being a good pickup from the Houston Texans, because you can really only go up from last year in terms of the offensive line play in Houston. They played tonight, so I have no idea how he's going to perform, but Travis Etienne, in my opinion, has been the most surprising Jacksonville Jaguar this year. He was also kind of an afterthought at the end of last year's season. Could Tank Bigsby be the RB1 here? He's now in Philadelphia. I mean, Bashal Tutin has looked solid this year out of the gate, but Etienne is still a really good running back in the league, in my opinion. In week number 1 against Carolina, with that like weird delay in that game, 16 carries, 143 yards. He had that 71-yard rush later in the game. He had 71 yards against the Bengals in week 2, 56 yards and 1 touchdown against the Texans in a nice win for them in week number 3, and then was a monster last week against the San Francisco 49ers, where he had 19 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. He's averaging 6.1 yards per carry. That is an incredible start for Travis Etienne, and maybe Liam Cohen just kind of found the running back he needed on the roster. He's probably been the best offensive player for Jacksonville this year, given that Brian Thomas, Trevor Lawrence, and even like Travis Hunter have been somewhat disappointing. I mean, this might be the most surprising player in the NFL, 100%. Daniel Jones of the Indianapolis Colts. Who expected this? I don't know if you maybe had Daniel Jones as the next Ryan Tannehill, Baker, Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. Just a quarterback that needed a change of scenery. That was kind of a bust on the team that drafted him highly in the NFL draft. 6th overall pick in the 2019 draft. We all knew at the time that they reached on Daniel Jones. He had a very encouraging 2022 season with the Giants. They beat Minnesota in the playoffs. He gets rewarded a massive contract to stay there in New York for 4 years. He's cut after 2 years on that new deal, basically going 3-13 over those 2 years with a torn ACL. This year, the Colts are 4-1 with Daniel Jones. And hey, if Adonai Mitchell doesn't drop that ball in the end zone or have that holding on the Jonathan Taylor touchdown, maybe the Indianapolis Colts are 5-0, a team that was pretty much at the bottom of the AFC predictions going into this year. It was like the Browns, maybe you had the Pats or the Jets or the Titans, but the Colts were definitely supposed to finish at the bottom of the AFC, and Daniel Jones has looked like a top 5 MVP candidate this year, which is mind-blowing to say. He's completing 71% of his passes. He's got just under 1,300 passing yards this year, 6 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He could still get it done with his legs as well. They just beat the Raiders 40-6. They beat Tennessee, Denver, which is an impressive win on that game-winning field goal. They blew out Miami in week number 1. And like I said, they lost to the LA Rams, a game they definitely could have won. The only game Daniel Jones threw an interception in. He threw 2 in that game. But maybe Shane Steichen is another quarterback whisperer out there. Daniel Jones has looked better than Anthony Richardson has for this team over the last 2 years. And I think the Colts found their franchise quarterback. And I got to feel good for their fans too, because it's just been a rotation of quarterbacks every year. You have a little bit of Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. But no, Daniel Jones is the man to save Indy and probably be their best quarterback, yes, since Andrew Luck. Not a lot to be excited about for the Tennessee Titans. Now, they did win their first game against the Arizona Cardinals. That was just like a comedic game at the end there. But hey, a win is a win. Cam Ward got his first win. I'm going to talk about a different rookie who I think has been their most surprising player, and that's Alec Iomanner, who was the 136th overall pick in the NFL draft out of Stanford, and he's been kind of the de facto wide receiver 1 for this team. Now, Calvin Ridley did have a nice week number 5 against Arizona. Iomanner just had 2 catches for 18 yards, but he's got 2 touchdowns on the year, and that's pretty good for a Tennessee Titans receiver. He's averaging around 6 targets per game, around 3 catches per game, and around 50 yards. Hey, for a 4th round pick coming in right away showing this stuff has definitely been impressive. impressive. He's averaging around 12 yards per catch, and you could definitely give some love to safety Xavier Woods or offensive lineman Peter Skoronski here in year number 3. All right, so for the Carolina Panthers, I was going to talk about just the collective offensive line play because everybody together has been sort of fine this year. Taylor Moden, Ekwonu, Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, Brady Christensen, Austin Corbett, like all have been solid this year for Carolina. But F it, I kind of want to talk about Rico Dowdle and what he did on Sunday versus the Miami Dolphins. Rico Dowdle did not get picked up by the Dallas Cowboys, who needed a running back in the offseason. Hey, it's definitely worked out for them and their running back this year. But that was one of the greatest running back performances for just kind of like a fill-in that I've seen maybe in my lifetime. 23 carries, 206 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a 53-yard run in that game as well. He was averaging 9 yards per carry. He even had 4 targets, 3 catches, and 28 yards in the receiving game. He had 206 yards in that game, like I said. Chuba Hubbard throughout the first 4 weeks had 217 yards. Now, maybe Chuba's been playing through injuries, but that was just so impressive for Rico Dowdle. Maybe the most surprising individual performance all year long. But yeah, I also wanted to shout out the offensive line. I think Ted McMillan has looked great there in Carolina as well. But yeah, just shout out to Rico Dowdle, man. What a performance on Sunday. For the New Orleans Saints, man, I've been impressed about Spencer Rattler so far this year. The 5th round pick, former Oklahoma and South Carolina QB, could maybe be the future here in New Orleans. So far this year, I know the Saints are 1-4, and they've not been a great team. I mean, still overall, they're a bad team like they were expected to be this year, but we thought they were going to get the number 1 overall pick and take a quarterback. I don't know yet because Rattler has made some really good throws, and I think he's played a lot better than some of the box score numbers have kind of looked so far this year. I mean, it was a 1-score loss against San Francisco, Arizona. I mean, only losing by 12 to Buffalo. Hey, not that bad when you look at the talent disparity of those two teams. I know they got blown out against Seattle, but he played well against the Giants. Now, the Giants secondary is not one of the top units, but he did complete 67% of his passes, 225 yards, 1 touchdown this year. He had that 87-yard touchdown pass to Rashid Shaheed, which was an absolute beauty of a throw. And I know they took Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round this year. I mean, Spencer Rattler, the way he's playing, we may never even see Tyler Shuck this year unless it's just like a throwaway game later in the year and they just have nothing to play for, which is going to be expected because this team is also going to trade a ton of their veterans at the deadline. They may end up trading somebody like a Carl Granderson. They may end up trading Demario Davis. Who knows if they would actually trade away a Cam Jordan? We could see Alvin Kamara get traded. Who knows? Maybe some team throws in a nice offer for Chris Olave. But yeah, Spencer Rattler has actually been pretty decent this year and might actually be the quarterback for the future in New Orleans and has been the first quarterback in over 20 years to be drafted by the Saints and actually win a game for them. Mind-blowing stat. For the Atlanta Falcons, I may actually just talk about their incoming rookie class here on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Walker and James Pierce have both made plays this year, and it's kind of nice to see, specifically with Jalen Walker, like, and the Falcons just having a solid pass rush again, because it's been forever since they had a top unit there. I think Xavier Watts has also been one of the best safeties in the NFL this year. He was the 96th overall pick out of Notre Dame, like a Notre Dame defense at a time when Benjamin Morrison was healthy. I had him and Xavier Watts. Watts comes in. He's the starting safety back there with Jesse Bates. He's graded out as the 10th best safety this year, according to PFF. He's got 2 interceptions this year. He started 4 games because they were on a bye here in week number 5. He's got 23 total tackles, and him and Jesse Bates kind of turning into one of the better safety duos in the NFL right now. So the last 2 Offensive Rookie of the Year winners have been CJ Stroud and Jaden Daniels, both quarterbacks. But before that, we saw a wide receiver win it in Garrett Wilson. Year before that, Jamar Chase. I think we're going to see another wide receiver win Offensive Rookie of the Year this season, and that's Emeka Egbuka for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just got to give a shout out to Baker Mayfield, what he's doing this year with like the Mike Evans, the Godwin injury, the offensive line injuries, the Bucky Irving injury, where we thought maybe Tampa Bay could take a step back this year, which is some of the aging parts of their roster, the offensive line kind of just being depleted over the years and just so banged up right now, and they're 4-1. It was such an incredible win against Seattle. I don't think they're 4-1 without Emeka Egbuka, because when they selected him 19th overall out of Ohio State, we're like, I mean, Emeka's a great player, a great prospect, but did Tampa really need to take a receiver? And man, they are just loving having Egbuka on this team right now. He had one of the best wide receiver performances of 2025 in week 5 against Seattle. 7 catches on 7 targets, 163 yards and a touchdown. He had a 57-yard catch in that game, 100% catch percentage, and he averaged 23 yards per those 7 targets. Incredible stuff. In week number 4 against Philly, he did have 10 targets, 6 catches, 101 yards and a touchdown, 85 yards in week number 3 against the Jets. He scored against Houston in week number 2, and he had 2 touchdowns in week number 1 against Atlanta. 5 touchdowns this year for Emeka Egbuka, who, like I said at the start of this, I do think he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year, or at least is the front runner right now, because it's definitely not Cam Ward. I don't think it's going to be Jackson Darts. Shout out Cam Scatabo. No, I think it's Emeka Ibuka. He's been an absolute stud and a top 5 receiver this year, you can make an argument for. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, I could shout out Aaron Rodgers, just what he's doing kind of off the Achilles injury at 41 years old now, where we thought his career could be over, and he's been a fine quarterback this year for the Steelers. You could give some love to Kenneth Gainwell, who I think people from Ireland may think he's like the prime Barry Sanders now. I think Mason McCormick has been great for the offensive line. I think Jalen Ramsey has been a stud for the Steelers this year, but I'm actually going to talk about Nick Herbig, who maybe is the second best edge rusher on this team after TJ Watt. Like, Alex Highsmith has just been banged up over the years. Herbig was a 4th round pick in the 2023 draft out of Wisconsin. And when he's healthy, man, he's an absolute stud. 6'2", 240 pounds. He's got 2.5 sacks this year in just 3 games because he was hurt to start off the year. So he's only played Seattle, New England, and Minnesota. He did miss week number 1 against the Jets. He even had an interception in that Seattle game as well. He's forced a fumble against the Patriots. He had 4 QB hits in that game. He had 3 against Carson Wentz and the Vikings. And yeah, with Alex Highsmith being kind of expensive and not as reliable on the field with injuries, Herbig might be the second best edge rusher on this team. Like I said, I think there have been a lot of surprising Steelers this year because they have a lot of old players. I think Deshaun Elliott has also stepped up this year, but I wanted to give some love to the former Badger. One player I was avoiding in most fantasy drafts around like round 5, 6, 7, wherever he was going, was Quinshon Judkins. He was late to sign his rookie contract. There was even always like that speculation he can go back to college and play there, just set out for the year. It was an absolute mess. I'm like, I don't even want to touch him on a Browns offense that might just be anemic all year long. No, Judkins could actually be up there in the offensive rookie of the year talks at the end of the year. Definitely should have mentioned him before when I was talking about Emeka Ibuka. He doesn't play in week number 1, gets going in week number 2, no preseason, no ramp up. 10 carries, 61 yards against the Ravens. The game script was never going to be their way. They were going to be down a ton. They ended up losing by 24. Then they beat the Packers in week number 3. He has 18 carries, 94 yards, 1 touchdown. He had a 38-yard run in that game. Everybody was talking about the Packers as like a Super Bowl favorite. And I don't know if they win that game without Judkins. He looks good against Detroit. 21 carries, 82 yards and a touchdown. 23 carries, 110 yards against the Vikings in London. Even had a touchdown that was called back from a holding. He's averaging 4.8 yards per attempt this year. The Browns found their running back for the future. Honestly, shout out to the whole 2025 draft class for the Cleveland Browns. Like, trading down, getting Mason Graham, who's great for this team, and they have another first. Carson Schwarzenegger's been great. I think Dylan Gabriel is going to be a fine backup in this league. Harold Fannon's been solid. Dylan Sampson had a good week number 1. I don't know if we're ever going to see Shedeur Sanders, but yeah, honestly, like, shout out to this draft class as a whole. It got a lot of backlash, and just people were so high on Travion Henderson, who hasn't really looked the part this year. More so Mike Vrabel not trusting him, but Judkins has been an absolute beast for Cleveland. So I don't really know who to talk about the Ravens too much too, because this team has been so disappointing. They're now 1-4. Lamar was out in week number 5 against Houston. They get blown out in that game. So many Ravens now are injured. Nate Wiggins, who I think has been their most surprising player. Wiggins was a first round pick, 30th overall back in that 2024 draft. And he's really rounding out this Baltimore Ravens secondary at full strength with Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the league. Malachi Starks, a recent first round pick. You have Marlon Humphrey, a great veteran corner. They brought in Chidobe Awuzie and Jair Alexander. I mean, Awuzie has definitely been better than Jair, but I think Nate Wiggins has been great. And shout out to TJ Tampa in Baltimore as well. He was a 4th round pick in the 24 draft, but Wiggins is kind of looking like a shutdown corner, or at least a great cornerback too to have on your roster. And after Quinyon Mitchell went in that draft, like, they could have gone with a couple other corners as well. And Baltimore just knows how to draft secondary players, man. Okay, I actually have no idea who to talk about for the Cincinnati Bengals. This team has just been tough to watch all year long. The game kind of got exciting, I guess, against the Detroit Lions. You're probably only watching the Bengals if you're a Bengals fan or if you have any of their players in fantasy. I know it's only been 114 snaps, but maybe I'll just talk about Oren Burks, the linebacker, who's kind of a journeyman, spending time in Green Bay to start off his career. He was a former 3rd round pick in the 2018 draft, some time in San Fran, some time in Philly last year. And he was probably not even like a top 15 talked about guy on that Philly defense that won a Super Bowl last year. Great pickup by the Bengals in the offseason. They signed him as a free agent after the Eagles released him in March. And he's actually been a solid, like, rotational pass rushing linebacker. Bengals fans, you can let me know who the most surprising player for your team is in a good way, because the offensive line has been bad. I don't think like any of the young guys like Amarius Mims or Miles Murphy have really like taken a leap this year by any means. It's just a dark time right now for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Burrow injured. For the Chicago Bears, I'm going to talk about Rome Odunze, the 9th overall pick in the 2024 draft, who's kind of emerging as the best receiver on this Bears roster. Yeah, maybe better than DJ Moore. Odunze didn't have like the most exciting rookie season, but the underlying metrics were good. I thought he was open more than kind of like the box score showed, and he could have been a little bit better, but the 6'3" receiver has been off to a great start this year. 5 touchdowns already on the year through 4 games. He had 1 in week number 1 against Minnesota, 2 in week number 2 against Detroit. He had 11 targets, 7 catches, 128 yards in that game. Kind of like a coming out party because everybody in that game was kind of bad besides Rome Odunze and a little bit of Caleb Williams. He had 7 targets in week number 3 against Dallas, found the end zone, and found the end zone again in week number 4 on 8 targets against the Raiders. He's turning into Caleb Williams' favorite target, and I think Ben Johnson's going to love having him here, and I think he's showing everybody why he went 9th overall in that 2024 draft. Okay, for the Detroit Lions, I'm actually going to go with their offensive coordinator, John Morton. He was the pass game coordinator with the Broncos over the last 2 years. He spent some time in Detroit, New Orleans, the Jets, and the Niners before this, but this Lions offense has not missed a beat whatsoever, and it's just making week 1 look so weird. They lose on the road in Green Bay. I mean, it was the start of a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and it's week 1. Teams don't score a ton in week 1. After that, they would go on to score 52 against the Bears, 38 against Baltimore, 34 against Cleveland, and 37 against Cincinnati. Now, all those defenses I kind of talked about are not elite defenses. Maybe you can give some props to Cleveland out of those 4. But scoring 34 plus points in your next 4 games, Jahmyr Gibbs, how dynamic he is, not losing a step with the play calling. They've still been as creative as ever. Honestly, shout out to John Morton, or maybe just Dan Campbell, who shows that maybe he didn't really need Ben Johnson as much as maybe we all thought he did as an offensive mind. We're going to talk about another receiver here for the Green Bay Packers, Romeo Doubs, who's been their wide receiver 1 this year. It hasn't been Matthew Golden. Jaden Reed gets hurt. They're getting Christian Watson back soon, but Doubs had 3 touchdowns on 8 targets, 6 catches, 58 yards in week number 4 against the Dallas Cowboys in that tie. It's just always funny when he catches the ball too, and you just see how ridiculous the Guardian cap looks. There has to be a more stylistic, appealing way to have the Guardian cap out there. I know it can prevent injuries and concussions and help you, but man, it just looks so ridiculous. And then you could also give some love to Tucker Kraft as well there in Green Bay, who's kind of emerging as their tight end 1 and maybe their best tight end in a little bit. He had that monster week 2 performance on Thursday night against Washington, 6 catches, 124 yards on 7 targets and a touchdown. He has been playing through an injury though as of late, but Doubs and Kraft have been very solid for Jordan Love in Green Bay so far. Haven't really talked about a bunch of corners in this video, but we got to talk about Isaiah Rodgers over there in Minnesota. Isaiah Rodgers is the 3rd graded corner according to PFF this year. He has their number 1 coverage grade, and he played one of the best performances ever this season in week number 3 against Cincinnati. He was just an extreme lockdown corner. He had a pick 6 in that game. He forced 2 fumbles, recovered 1 of them, and returned that for 66 yards, 3 tackles in that game, and like I said, has just been elite in coverage. This former 6th round pick in the 2020 draft spent 3 years with the Colts. He actually didn't play at all in 2023. I forget about that with the gambling violation. He plays for Philly in 2024, but you were never going to hear his name talked about too much, right? You had Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay, and now he gets picked up by Minnesota on a 2-year deal worth $11 million, and this is like true cornerback 1 material out there. You're getting a great bang for your buck, and Brian Flores just has another weapon out there for that defense. For the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to go with James Cook, who we know objectively is a good player, and he was a monster in 2024 with the Bills. He had 16 rushing touchdowns, 18 total touchdowns on the year, 1,000 yards, but there were talks that he could hold out. He wanted a new contract, so he doesn't really get a proper ramp up this year, but no, it doesn't look like he lost a step whatsoever so far this year through 5 games, 90 carries, 450 yards, 5 yards per carry. He's got 5 touchdowns already on the year, because you always hear about touchdown regression, right? Hey, not for James Cook so far this year. He's been a monster. I know he wasn't great on Sunday night against New England. It was definitely his worst performance of the year, but he balled out against Miami, New York, and the Saints. Not the scariest defenses in the world. So hey, if you don't want to go with James Cook, Jackson Hawes, definitely the 5th round tight end, has just been one of the best blocking tight ends in the league this year. Kind of been a monster trio there of Dalton Kincaid, Jackson Hawes, and Dawson Knox over there in Buffalo. So I don't really know who to talk about for the Jets either. Just maybe the most disappointing team in the NFL, at least over the last 4 weeks. After having such an encouraging week number 1 against Pittsburgh, they almost win that game. They're the only team left that hasn't won a game this year. The Saints won in week 5. The Titans won in week 5. The Jets are 0-5. Coach Aaron Glenn is still looking for his first win. It almost happened in week 3 against Tampa Bay. I'm going to just talk about Garrett Wilson, though, because I thought his production could have taken a little bit of a step back this year with no, like, true wide receiver 2 on this roster. Teams could just have the sole focus on Garrett Wilson. And the quarterback play gets worse, right, from Aaron Rodgers to Justin Fields, at least as a thrower. But Wilson has still been a premier receiver this year. He's got 382 yards, 33 catches, and 4 touchdowns, 11.5 yards per reception throughout 5 games. There's a reason why the Jets extended him before the season started. Jets fans, you can let me know who you would pick as well. I mean, Armand Membu has been a great offensive offensive rookie so far on that offensive line, the 7th overall pick in the NFL draft. I just feel for Jets fans, man. I was debating if I was going to go with him before Sunday Night Football. Yeah, we're going with Drake May for the New England Patriots. I mean, you ask somebody what quarterback would they want from the 2024 draft. I know it's like a what have you done for me lately league, but people may actually say Drake May over Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, especially after that performance against Buffalo in Buffalo on Sunday night, where he just made so many amazing throws. He completed 22 out of his 30 attempts, 273 yards. And so far this year, he's thrown for over 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and definitely is looking like the best Patriots quarterback we have seen since Tom Brady, which is crazy. Better than Mac Jones, Cam Newton, Bailey Zappi, Brian Hoyer, just the hodgepodge that have come throughout the years. And I still feel like Drake May right now does not have good running back play because they're not really trusting Travion Henderson whatsoever. The offensive line has been better than last year, but still not a top tier unit. And I think the skill position guys can get better. I like Hunter Henry, I like Stephon Diggs, but it's been a rotation over there as well. Drake May has definitely looked the part here in year number 2. And the Patriots have their franchise quarterback. Okay, it's got to be Darren Waller for the Miami Dolphins. I know he's only played 2 games this year, but I thought this man's career was over. He essentially retired after 2023. It was not a great year with the New York Giants. It wasn't a bad year, but it really wasn't the year that people expected when at the time he was kind of considered like a top 3-4 tight end in the league. He wasn't in the Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews conversations, but he was right there after having back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2019 and 2020 in Vegas. He goes on to have 2 touchdowns against the Jets on Monday night, 3 catches, 27 yards, but then he looked great in week number 5 against the Carolina Panthers. I know they lost, but he had 5 catches, 5 targets, 78 yards, and a touchdown. He looks good out there. I mean, he's 33 years old. They loved their tight end last year in Jonnu Smith. Now with Tyreek Hill out for the year, Darren Waller has to step up as like the number 2 receiving option. I'm sure he's going to get more production than like a Malik Washington or Nick Westbrook-Ikini throughout the rest of the season. For the Dallas Cowboys, I want to give some love to Javonte Williams. They've had some other surprising players this year. I don't think Dak has been surprising because I knew that Dak Prescott was a good quarterback, and last year was just a depleted year for injuries for him and a lot of Dallas Cowboys. I mean, George Pickens has definitely exceeded expectations this year in my opinion, but I want to talk about Javonte Williams, who I loved coming out of UNC. He was really impressive as a rookie and looked so good to start off year number 2. Tears his ACL, never really looks the same in Denver. So far this year, though, he's been an absolute beast for the Dallas Cowboys, who don't even have their offensive line at full strength right now. Throughout 5 games, 79 carries, 447 yards, 5 touchdowns as well. He's averaging 5.7 yards per carry and was a monster yet again in week number 5 against the Jets. 16 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown as well. And I hope that Jerry re-signed Javonte Williams at the end of the year and they found their running back for the future. Still just 25 years old. I think we still got to say Howie Roseman is probably the best drafting general manager in the NFL. They got, like, I mean, he did it again, man. The 31st overall pick in the draft, Jahad Campbell, somebody that probably should have gone a lot higher in this draft. I'm not going to say that he's not as good as Jalen Walker, and he's not a pass rushing linebacker, so therefore they're going to go a little bit lower in the draft. It's not like a premier position when you're looking to take guys in the first round, but just draft good players, and that's what Howie Roseman does. He's been one of the best linebackers so far this year. They put him on the D-line, they put him in the box. He's even kind of lined up as a slot corner as well. He's been great in coverage, and that's what they love on this defense with Zach Bond and his coverage skills. I mean, just, yeah, Howie Roseman did it again. I thought there could have been some regression for Cooper DeJean in a higher workload this year. He's also been great for the Eagles. I mean, they're 4-1. They could have easily been 5-0 if they beat Denver, but it looks like there's way too much dysfunction for a 4-1 team. Kind of weird. They just won the Super Bowl too. I think the NFL also overthought it about Cam Skattebo here with the 105th overall pick in the 2025 draft. The Giants hit an absolute home run. Like, honestly, he's not like a culture changer, but this guy just brings the intensity, the passion, the motivation that you just want throughout an NFL year. He's like a true psycho, and this guy will have a pancake block, and then he'll run you over on the next play with the ball in his hands. It is unfortunate that Tyrone Tracy, who was an exciting rookie last year, got hurt, but so far this year, Skattebo, 63 carries, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. He's done in the receiving game as well. 6 catches for 61 yards in week number 3 against the Chiefs, 6 carries, 45 yards against the Saints in week number 5. I mean, like, how do you just not love watching Cam Skattebo play football at Arizona State, Sacramento State, with the Giants? He's the same guy, and he's just an absolute bowling ball out there. And to finish this off, an easy one here for the Washington Commanders, it's Deebo Samuel. I mean, shout out to what Bill is doing in the backfield, but people thought Deebo Samuel maybe wasn't the same player anymore. He had an expensive contract, and they were looking at Adam Peters with kind of side eye. Why did you go out and try to get this guy who might be at the twilight of his career, 29 years old, but coming off a disappointing year in San Francisco, hasn't really looked the same since 2021, but no, he's been a beast so far for the Commanders. He's been their wide receiver 1 with Terry being banged up. He had the contract dispute coming into the year. So far this season, throughout 5 games, 30 catches, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns on the year. He's got a rushing touchdown as well. And I don't know where this Commanders offense would be without Deebo Samuel right now. So that is going to be it for me. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the players I talked about in this video that I thought were just the most surprising players on every NFL franchise. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already for weekly NFL content like this. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.